Hello and welcome to another week of Monday with the Mayor, a New Year's week edition of Monday with the Mayor. I'm Bradford Raths, and we have returned to Jasper to see Terry Seitz.
Happy New Year, kinda.
Absolutely. Happy New Year to yourself. So we now have the master plan addendum, I guess it was, adopted.
That is right. The Jasper Downtown and Riverfront Master Plan has been adopted as an addition or an extension of our 2010 comprehensive plan. And that plan specifically called for us to address in a similar fashion this narrower point of Jasper, the downtown riverfront. I think we've done so. We've already got kick-started and have parallel projects underway with that. One is a phase 1 hydrology study. And as I'm learning as mayor, you know, these phases, these hydrology studies, what do they show? Essentially, we're taking the flow of the river, Patoka River, between the two bridges within the city, and we're essentially examining historical floodplain points, potential floodplains with buildings, the impact is such, and that has to be kind of the, I guess, the groundwork or the foundation of anything that would happen thereafter. So it becomes not an end-all to be-all, but literally a foundation of what could be done. And then there would be other phases, other studies that would have to be done by any particular structural build along the river, whether that would be another pedestrian bridge, a north side river walk, a Patoka steps, any of those things that I mentioned in the master plan, but also from the private sector, whether that be Jasper cabinet development or things like that. So all that being said, there are different phases in these things. Each have expenses and budget, and we've undertaken this one as a parallel step because eventually anything mentioned in the master plan will need to have a hydrology study. So we've kicked that off already. And the rest of what we're now trying to do is really what are our next steps? Are there low-hanging fruit that we can look at? We continue to have conversations with people that are interested, or certainly the conversations with the existing owners of some of the buildings to say that they, you know, how are conversations going on your end? We know that these are still longer term projects, but there is an understanding, I think, from the public that there is more hope in the older existing structures than perhaps there was a year ago, and that there is probably, again, some understanding that they would have value. So we take that document and have elevated it to be really kind of a guiding light and path.
All right. So let's kind of go back for just a second and evaluate the overall work that our planners did for this.
They did a very good job. Our hats are off to David Gamble of Gamble Associates of Boston, Barry Alberts of City Visions of Louisville, and of course now comes the next step, the implementation thereof, or things as they see it. We think that we want them involved again in some aspect of it. We're not exactly sure how. We also know that they are not an engineering firm, but they are design experts. And how do we get to these various stages? What are the costs? Where do we focus time, energy, and resources on? In addition, they have done a very good job of preparing, to this extent, the Jasper Country Club property, and certainly there's several entities involved. Just a reminder that that property is owned by the Redevelopment Commission of Jasper. I think in the new year, we'll be looking at some things related to the potential sale of some land owned by the Park Department. The Park Department does, through the Redevelopment Commission's authority, oversee that property, and they want to look at what activities, what can be done literally in the new year to again reopen that in some aspect under city ownership. Certainly, if it was just left as it is using the cart paths, former cart paths as walking trails and things like that, that may be the basic thing. But again, it's putting some activity back in there, whether how formally it's planned for or within the regular control of the Park Department, how much of the green space would be, I guess, maintained and mowed, and they're looking at that now. I know that's something they looked at before we bought it. What would it take to do some simple things? So I would suspect the park board meetings will have some solutions to that, and that park will be utilized, or that property will be utilized as a park. I may also add that we are looking to reestablish our multi-use trail project. We still have a federal grant that has some monies on for not only planning but hopefully implementing a trail. Ultimately, this trail project was started more than 10 years ago, and it involved going pretty far to the north side of Jasper. We have actually taken us a year right now to secure permission to change the direction of that trail. What we were hearing was people wanted to have some connection. So if we continued to go to the north, we would still eventually work our way around, but we would not have a connection for many, many years. So we shortened the pathway of that original trail, and we're going to reorganize or reintroduce it, I guess I should say, at our park board meeting in January in an open house. And that's a possibility of taking the trail from roughly the Presbyterian Church at 36th, St. Charles and Northwood Avenue, and then heading over towards the 15th Street end of the current Riverwalk, and see if maybe we can connect those 2 points at some time in the relatively near future, in a couple, 3 years.
Probably be a good thing for the residents to have that type of connection then with
I think
a trail.
we're hearing that. It'd be kind of nice to have an ending point and a beginning point, even if there's still more work left to be done. And ultimately, we can see if even without the grant, we would want to connect hopefully across the school property. And we've had very exploratory discussions with the school property and simply said, guys, we want to let you know we'd love to connect from the school corporation office and connect with a trail, along your right of way into the country club property, and at least just to let them know that it's not a major decision or a point of discussion. It's kind of just stating the obvious. So hopefully we would go from the country club property literally all the way down to the Ruxer Golf Course with some type of connectivity. And again, connecting something rather than just kind of ending up in 2 different points of space is what we were hearing as an administration. That's what we'd like to focus on. So we have some of those federal grant dollars to get us started, we hope, in planning, and then maybe some also to continue and begin that new direction. And we'll talk about that at the Park Department meeting.
Looks like the broad theme across the city then being connection.
Connectivity. I think we heard that very loud and clear this year, by all means, of this, when we talked about downtown plan, that Jasper downtown, this courthouse square, etc., and the riverfront are too close to not be literally thought of as one, and I'm working our way towards that.
All right. Well, Mayor, we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year to everyone out there as well. This has been Monday with the Mayor. We'll have more news right after this.